Good morning. I'm Chris Jensen. Welcome to MSNBC's Super Tuesday coverage. Winner takes all in the biggest contest to date and the nastiest battle in this early primary season.
While Florida families lost everything in the housing crisis, Newt Gingrich cashed in.
The contract says no lobbying, period. I offered strategic advice.
That's lobbying. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck.
There's something so grotesquely hypocritical about the Romney campaign. This guy owns Goldman Sachs stock, has Swiss bank accounts, Cayman Island accounts. Governor Romney owns shares of both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
But have you checked your own investments? You also have investments through mutual funds that also invest in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Right. So you guys leave that alone and focus on the issue.
With growing income inequality and anger rising, Romney dragged his heels for weeks about releasing his returns.
Almost $22 million in 2010, nearly $21 million last year.
The President of the United States.
Everyone gets a fair shot, and everyone does their fair share, and everyone plays by the same set of rules.
He's really trying to divide America.
By the end of my second term, we will have the first permanent base on the moon.
If you believe they put a man on the moon, man on the moon.
If I had a business executive come to me and say they wanted to spend a few $100 billion to put a colony on the moon, I'd say you're fired.
I don't think we should go to the moon. I think we maybe should send some politicians up there on time.
And that was only the last week or so. Well, right now in Florida, people are voting, and it looks like Mitt Romney's new strategy worked. Poll after poll shows he's going to win today after turning up his attacks. The question is, how much will he win by? And Newt Gingrich isn't letting up on attacks of his own.
You cannot get to be president if you don't have the courage to tell the truth to the American people.
I know the speaker's not real happy, Speaker Gingrich. He's not feeling very excited these days. I know, it's sad. He's been flailing around a bit, trying to go after me for one thing or the other. And
let me bring in MSNBC political analyst and former RNC chairman Michael Steele, who's down there in Florida. Good morning.
Hey, how you doing? Good.
You know, maybe the bigger question is every day these guys go after each other with all the negative ads, all the attacks. Is it hurting you guys in the big picture, Republicans?
Oh, I believe it is. I think it's beginning to form and arm camps within the GOP that at the grassroots level. And my concern is coming out of this, certainly going into future contests, but most especially getting to the convention, whether or not people are going to be of a frame of mind to fight Barack Obama or they can still be fighting each other. My hope is that the adults in the room will take control of this thing.
Who are the adults in the room, Michael?
Well, that's the candidates themselves. They need to take control of this thing. Mitt Romney, make your case. You don't need to tear down your opponents in order to make your case and connect with the voters. The other candidates, you
Here's
don't need...
Here's the problem for him, obviously. It worked.
Well, yeah, isn't that funny? And yet, at the same time, you're looking at a race in which, within the party, there's going to be greater polarization than you're going to have going out into the general election to get the voters to pay attention to what you want to talk about. Everyone's talking about the last negative commercial. What they need to be talking about your agenda and how you plan to move not just the party, but most especially the country forward. And I'm hoping that coming out of Florida, and I take your point, Chris, it does work. It's one of those catch-22s, you know. People complain about negative campaigning, but negative campaigning works, and that's why they do it. But
yeah, well, speaking of complaining about the negative campaigning, let me play for you, Michael, what Sarah Palin had to say about the attacks.
Yep.
It's gotten vicious, and I'm not whining about the viciousness, and I don't think anybody should. But what I will call people out on is when they choose to lie about a candidate. And what we have seen in the politics of personal destruction has been based on lies. That is why so many people feel disenchanted from with our political process today.
So how, Michael, do you deal with this populist, grassroots, conservative wing of the party, personified by Sarah Palin, by Rush Limbaugh, Herman Cain? They feel Mitt Romney's being rammed down their throats.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that Mitt Romney has got to solve for his campaign, quite frankly. And again, it goes back to my point. You don't do that by tearing down someone of Newt's stature, for good or bad. Do you like him or not like him? He's played a role in the party, and he has a lot of support behind him. And so when people are looking at leadership, they're looking at how do you embrace and bring that kind of leadership to help you if you truly are going to be the standard bearer. How do you then go forward should you get the nomination and have a Newt Gingrich ticked off to the side, not really participating? And that's the concern that the Sarah Palins and Rush Limbaughs and others have about the way this process is unfolding. Getting back to my point, it's time for the adults to step up, run the campaign that's going to talk in a visionary way about the future of our country, and leave all the pettiness aside. Okay, we got the Bain thing, we got the Freddie Mac thing. Let's move on to talk about how what Obama is doing has stifled economic growth and opportunity, and how what you're going to do is going to create an avenue for small businesses to rejuvenate the economy.
All right, Michael, stay with us. I want to bring in Joe Conason, who is the editor-in-chief with NationalMemo.com, and David Korn is the Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones and an MSNBC political analyst. So, Joe, give me odds. I don't know if you're a betting man, but what are the chances the adults in the room are going to show up? 92% of political ads aired in Florida over the last week were negative.
Yes, not surprising. And I would say 91% of them or something like that were Romney ads. I mean, people were bombarded with Romney's money. And I think Gingrich is very bitter about that. So if he's expected to be the adult in the room, in New York, he's known as Crybaby Gingrich, and he's not going to change his stripes after this. I think this is very bad for their party because what it does, you could hear Sarah Palin creating a narrative about that almost makes it impossible for them to endorse Romney at the convention. He's lied about them. He is dishonest. And they've opened up a whole narrative framework for Obama that's very convenient. They made Romney release his taxes. That was done by Republicans. But he only released two tax returns. When Bill Clinton ran for president in 1992, he released 12 years of tax returns.
Of course, he didn't have any money.
He didn't have any money. Romney has a lot of money. It's not clear that he paid any taxes. And what people are going to want to know is, going forward, where do these Gingrich attacks end up? What is the final answer?
Yeah, and I think, to Michael's point, too, David, yesterday you would think, yesterday and today, these last 24 hours, this is so important, winner-take-all primary. This is a chance for candidates to make their closing argument. Let me play for you what Newt Gingrich had to say yesterday. What is it that's getting all the press in these last 24 hours? Here's Newt Gingrich talking about kosher meals.
Governor Romney imposed activities on the Catholic hospitals against their opposition and refused to allow them the right of conscience in Romney Care. Just as, by the way, he eliminated serving kosher food for elderly Jewish residents under Medicaid.
Is this where we are, David, in this campaign?
And by the way, he's a Mormon. I mean, he didn't say that, but he came pretty close. Listen, I feel for Michael's pain. It's hard to watch your party go through this. But let's go back to 1978 in our time machine. Newt Gingrich, running for Congress then, tells young Republicans the problem with our party is we don't teach you to be nasty enough. We've had over 30 years of Newt Gingrich being nasty, and the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen the Republican Party go to extreme lengths, comparing Democrats to Nazis when they passed health care reform. Sarah Palin was just down there crying crocodile tears after she campaigned against Barack Obama, saying he palled around with terrorists. They call him a socialist. And so all this swelling of nastiness has crescended with the Obama presidency. And now what are they doing? They're using it on each other. And it's ugly. It's helping the Democrats. You compare the way Barack Obama looked with his State of the Union speech versus the way Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich looked this past week, the past few weeks. And there's a very clear contrast there that independent voters will see. And so this is really, it's a classic case of reaping what you sow.
But the question, I guess, becomes, because we've all heard what Newt Gingrich had to say. He said, I'm in this for the long haul. So what does he do now, Joe? Does he start right now just to sort of try to manage expectations? In other words, if it's only a 8-point loss instead of a 15-point loss, is it a win?
Well, I think they're going to want to forget Florida tomorrow, and they're going to have to forget a lot of February because the states that are coming up this month are all favorable to Romney. He won them all in 2008, some of them by large margins. They're either states where there are quite a few Mormon voters out west, or they're states that are friendly to a New England former governor. So he looks like he's set to win almost every race, or perhaps every race this month. He has to hang on until the beginning of March when, then there are some southern states where he can try to battle back. But the setup in the Republican Party this year with fewer winner-take-all contests would allow him to get enough delegates to keep going if he has the money.
Well, that really is the other issue, isn't it, Michael? Because the way this is set up, this is going to go to April anyway.
Well, yeah, and let me just correct one point that everyone keeps mentioning. Florida is not a winner-take-all state. Florida is proportional. Florida violated the April 1st rule of the RNC, Rule 15, and those delegates, whatever number is apportioned to them, will be proportional for the candidates. That's why Newt and Rick and Paul feel very good coming out of Florida, winning or not winning. They will all get some of these delegates. I had confirmation talking with some of the leadership yesterday at the RNC, the committee, members of the committee. They've all agreed that this is proportional. You got California, Michigan, and Ohio, just a few of the 35 states that changed their rules to comport to this requirement, who would not be very happy if Florida gets away with having a winner-take-all at this time. So that's a factor here that is very real. It changes the dynamics on the ground for sure. Mitt will have a big night tonight, but coming out of Florida, there's still a lot more running room ahead for the other three candidates. They know it, and they're going to take advantage of every inch of that space.
You're telling me that Florida is not winner-take-all?
It is not winner-take-all. It is proportional because they violated Rule 15 of the RNC that said any winner-take-all state that goes before April 1st, I know it because I wrote the rule, is proportional.
But won't it be... I was just going to say, won't it be a matter of contention if it becomes a big issue down the road? We've seen this. We saw this happen in the Obama-Clinton fight 4 years ago. So it still may be up for grabs.
You could have a convention rules fight, I guess.
Well, it's how, and that's more of an issue with respect to whether or not you're going to lose your delegates. And as we saw with Obama, the nominee is not going to tell delegates they can't be seated, but how you apportion those delegates, that's what we wanted to check.
Right.
All right, Michael, Joe Conason, David Korn, gentlemen, thanks to all of you.
Thank you.